My dear student, today we shall discuss autoimmune hemolytic anemia. The autohemolytic anemia is characterized by formation of autoantibody against RBC antigen. Here, there is two type of autoantibody is going to form. The first type of autoantibody is IgG in nature, and it is called warm and autoantibody. Warm because it is more active at 37 degree temperature, and the second type of autoantibody is IgM in nature, and it is more active at 4 degree centigrade of temperature. So this is called cold autoantibody. The hemolytic anemia induced by these two type of autoantibody is of two type. One is warm antibody autoimmune hemolytic anemia, and another is cold autoantibody hemolytic anemia. The warm autoantibody hemolytic anemia, as you know, that it is IgG mediated, and it is more active at 37 degree of temperature. So that is why it is called warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia. This type of anemia is seen in certain conditions. Most commonly it is idiopathic in nature, but sometimes it may be associated with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, SLE. Sometimes it is post-viral in origin, and sometimes it is also associated with drug induced, like penicillin, methyl dopa, and quinidine. Some other antibiotic like ceftriaxone may also induce warm type of autoantibody hemolytic anemia. The pathogenesis in this condition involve in this way, that the first, there is formation of autoantibody which is IgG in nature, and it is mostly for against the protein part of the RS system present on the RBC. Following after the formation of autoantibody, the Fc portion of this IgG autoantibody is first recognized by macrophages present in the reticuloendothelial system of spleen. Here, the macrophage along with autoantibody IgG actually binds with RBC, and due to this bonding by the macrophages in the RE system of spleen, the structure, the morphology of the RBC is going to change, and the changes occurs in the form of spherocytes. So the RBC shape is converted into spherocytes. These spherocytes, when passes through the splenic sinusoid and in the red pulp area of the spleen, they undergo hemolysis, and due to the hemolysis there is development of anemia. Sometimes this autoantibody along with RBC bonded with the C3 complement, and that causes severe direct hemolysis. So by these two mechanisms, the result is progressive destruction of RBC mediated via autoantibody, macrophages, and complement. So there is development of chronic progressive anemia. Actually, hemolytic anemia is going to develop. Sometimes the autoantibody is in the presence of complement C3b. It is recognized by Kupffer cell of liver. So here in the liver is also going to involve in the autoimmune hemolytic anemia. And due to this phenomena, the spleen undergo increase in their size and result splenomegaly. So you are seeing here that in warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia, there is development of progressive anemia followed by splenomegaly, and due to the hemolysis, there is formation of bilirubin. The bilirubin level is going to increase, hyperbilirubinemia, that lead to the jaundice. So these three clinical features, what clinical features? That chronic anemia followed by splenomegaly and hyperbilirubinemia in the form of jaundice clinically, they are going to seen in case of this type of anemia. And this clinical finding differentiate autoimmune hemolytic anemia from other type of anemia where splenomegaly is not seen. As you know that fact in the megaloblastic anemia, in iron deficiency anemia, in anemia due to chronic disease, in aplastic anemia, here there is no splenomegaly. But in case of autoimmune hemolytic anemia, splenomegaly is very much markable, and so that is why sometimes splenomegaly is a very cardinal and clinical finding for the diagnosis of autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Jaundice is present, there is indirect hyperbilirubinemia. So this type of manifestation is going to seen in case of autoimmune hemolytic anemia. The diagnosis of one type of autoimmune hemolytic anemia is confirmed by laboratory findings, and the main laboratory findings are this: that first, the hemoglobin concentration will be low down. The second, there will be hyperbilirubinemia. Third, there will be splenomegaly, which is a clinical finding, not a laboratory finding. There is hyperbilirubinemia. There is spherocytosis. There is reticulocytosis because of compensatory mechanism in the bone marrow due to the severe hemolysis. Sometimes the hemoglobin may present in the urine also, and that may lead to the hemoglobinuria. It is rare. And the most important laboratory test for the confirmation of warm type of autoimmune hemolytic anemia, that is made by Coombs test. So in this condition, the Coombs test, both direct and indirect, are positive. Direct Coombs test is generally done for the detection of auto antibody against the RBC or complement or both, and indirect Coombs test is done for the detection of autoantibody level only. So in this condition, both direct and indirect, since there is involvement of both autoantibody and complement, so both test is positive here. So in this way, the diagnosis is made. Sometimes a very important clinical finding is seen in case of warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia, and that is called Eulers syndrome. So Eulers syndrome consists of thrombocytosis, thrombocytopenia, and autoimmune hemolytic anemia. So this syndrome sometimes seen in case of autoimmune hemolytic anemia, especially one type of autoimmune hemolytic anemia. The second type of autoimmune hemolytic anemia is known as cold antibody autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Cold because of presence of a specific type of autoantibody which is very much active at 4 degrees of temperature, and mostly it is IgM in nature. So this type of anemia sometimes seen in a special condition following after the exposure of cold, that there is a hemolysis as well as agglutination reaction is going to happen in the RBC. The cold antibody hemolytic anemia, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, is again of two types. The first one is known as cold agglutinin disease. Cold agglutinin disease. Here the antibody is IgM in nature, and they are mainly formed against the I antigen of RBC. I antigen of RBC, there is formation of autoantibody, and in the presence of complement, this binds with the RBC. This antibody along with the complement binds with the RBC. The RBC undergo hemolysis as well as agglutination reaction. So there is development of this type of autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Another important phenomena that is going to happen in this condition, that there may be chance of cyanosis attack, and this cyanosis is seen mainly in the peripheral part of the body, especially in the finger, in the toe, in the face, and it is only happen on the cold exposure. So that is why it is also known as cold agglutination disease. There is formation of IgM antibody. This antibody along with the complement causes agglutination of the RBC, and that may lead to the cyanosis. So this type of clinical finding is seen here, and sometimes this is also associated with the renounced phenomena. This type of autoimmune hemolytic disease, cold type of autoimmune hemolytic disease, is seen in certain conditions. Like mostly again it is idiopathic in nature, but sometimes it may be associated with CLL, or in the condition where the IgM antibody is high, called IgM paraproteinemia, and this is more common in CLL, lymphoma, or Waldenstrom macroglobulinemia. These are the some conditions where the IgM level is abnormally high, and that may lead to the cold agglutination disease. Another important fact regarding this disease, that again it may be diagnosis is mainly confirmed by the Coombs test, and both direct and indirect Coombs test may be positive here. The second type of cold autoantibody hemolytic anemia is called paroxysmal cold hemoglobinuria. Paroxysmal cold hemoglobinuria. As the name clear, that on the exposure of cold condition, there is sudden onset of hemoglobinuria, and it occurs in the paroxysmal way, in the paroxysmal attack of hemoglobinuria on exposure of cold condition. So this is called paroxysmal cold hemoglobinuria. Here it differs slightly from cold agglutination disease in this sense that the nature of autoantibody here is IgG, and it is mainly for against P blood group antigen. Again, autoantibody along with complement and causes destruction of RBC, and this phenomena occurs again on exposure of cold, that causes hemoglobinuria, and some other clinical finding, like there is sudden attack of the pain abdomen followed by hemolysis, and there is back pain, there is pallorness, there is hemoglobinuria, and all these manifestation, again I told you, all these manifestation occurs in certain special condition following after exposure of cold, and this reaction is going to happen, and there may be chance of development of paroxysmal cold hemoglobinuria type of autoimmune hemolytic anemia. So this condition is again rare, but it can be seen in the certain condition, especially in the mycoplasma infection, mycoplasma pneumonia, and sometime it may be seen in tertiary syphilis. Laboratory finding of both condition again in the same way, that the hemoglobin concentration, no doubt it will be decreased due to anemia, hemolysis of the RBC. There is Raynaud's phenomena is going to seen here. There is hyperbilirubinemia because of destruction of the RBC. So the most important finding, there is a hemoglobinuria here, and again the diagnosis is confirmed by the Coombs test, both direct and indirect. The direct Coombs test is always positive because there is high titer of the autoantibody here and involvement of the complement also here. So the direct is certainly positive. Indirect may be positive, may be negative. That depends upon the titer of autoantibody. So in this way the diagnosis is confirmed, and since this autoimmune hemolytic anemia is immunological in origin, there is a involvement of immunological reaction here. So the treatment is only supportive treatment. The treatment is given like repeated blood transfusion, like splenotomy. Sometimes plasmapheresis is done for the removal of autoantibody from the blood, immunosuppressive therapy, corticosteroid therapy. So these are the some line of treatment, but all the treatment is supportive, not curative, because this disease is related to the immunological involvement. So this is all about autoimmune hemolytic anemia, and although this disease is rare, but you must know, and because sometimes a long question or short notes may be asked in your terminal or university examination, and many MCQ question is made on this topic and may be asked in the different examination. So I think concept should be clear, but still if you have confusion, you can ask me on my mobile number. I think all of you know the number. Okay, thank you. In the next class we shall start thalassemia. Okay, thank you.